China's rare earth monopoly. The hidden weapon behind the US-China trade war. You've probably never seen one. You can't touch them. But they power your phone, your car, your fighter jets, and even the future of... Welcome to the shadow war for rare earth elements. The invisible power source of our digital world. And one country dominates this resource. China. But how did this happen? Why does it matter? And what could it mean for the next global conflict? Let's dive deep into the geopolitical chessboard of rare earth metals and uncover how this silent monopoly may tip the scales in the US-China trade war. What are rare earths? Rare earth elements, or ReEs, are a group of 17 metallic elements, including names like neodymium, cerium, and dysprosium. Despite the name, they're not actually rare in quantity, but they're incredibly difficult and environmentally costly to extract and refine. Why are they important? Because they're essential to manufacturing smartphones and EVs, wind turbines and solar panels, precision-guided missiles and jet engines. Every nation that wants to lead in defense, tech, or clean energy needs rare earths. And that's where China comes in. How China took control. Back in the 1980s, the US led rare earth production. But due to environmental regulations and cheaper labor abroad, American mines closed. Meanwhile, China saw an opportunity. The Chinese government subsidized remining, cut export prices to eliminate global competitors, and invested in refining infrastructure. Today, China controls over 60% of remining, over 85% of re-refining, and the majority of the world's re-export supply. This wasn't accidental, it was strategic. China recognized early that controlling ReEs would give them a major advantage, not just economically, but politically and militarily. Economic fallout in the US. So what does that mean for the US? Well, American industries, from Tesla to Raytheon, depend on ReEs from China. And during the trade war, this dependency became a vulnerability. In 2019, China threatened to cut off ReEs in retaliation for US tariffs. It was a wake-up call. Since then, the Pentagon has labeled ReEs as critical to national security and has started funding domestic mining and recycling programs. But building infrastructure takes time. The Mountain Pass mine in California reopened, but it still ships ores to China for refining. The economic cost of losing re-access, delayed production, higher prices, national security risks, a geopolitical weapon. China has already shown it's willing to use ReEs as a weapon. In 2010, during a territorial dispute with Japan, China restricted re-exports, crashing Japan's tech manufacturing. That move sent shockwaves across the world. Since then, China hasn't had to act. Just threatening to cut supply is enough to shake markets. It's strategic leverage without firing a single shot. And now, as tensions rise over Taiwan, 5G, and AI, China's monopoly becomes even more dangerous. If China decides to pull the plug, it could paralyze the West's tech sector overnight. Global pushback and supply chain resilience. 8:31 to 10:30. The world is waking up. The US, Australia, the EU, and Japan are pouring billions into breaking China's monopoly. Projects like Linus Corp in Australia, the only major non-China supplier, new mining ventures in Canada, Greenland, and Africa, US investment in reprocessing and recycling. Governments are also forming alliances, like the Minerals Security Partnership, to share supply chains and technology. But these efforts face hurdles, high costs, environmental concerns, and long time. Diversifying the resupply chain isn't easy, and it's not fast. Tech war and rare earths. 10:31 to 12:30. Rare earths are now at the heart of the US-China tech Cold War. They power semiconductors, AI servers, quantum computers, and even space tech. As the US imposes chip sanctions and bans on Huawei, China hints at re-retaliation. It's tit for tat, technology for minerals. And in the age of artificial intelligence, whoever controls rare earths controls the future. The CHIPS Act, Made in America policies, and reshoring efforts are a response to this resource dependency. But China's edge is still razor-sharp, because the West may design the future, but China still builds the parts. Environmental price tag. There's another hidden cost to China's dominance: the environment. Remining produces radioactive waste, toxic chemicals, and heavy metal runoff. Entire regions in China, like Inner Mongolia, have suffered massive ecological damage. As the world races toward green energy, it must reconcile this paradox. Clean tech depends on dirty mining. If the West wants to compete, it must either accept similar environmental risks or innovate better, cleaner solutions. Future scenarios. So what happens next? Here are 5 likely scenarios. Escalation. China cuts RareEarths in a future crisis, shocking the world economy. Diversification. Western nations succeed in building new supply chains. Innovation. Scientists invent rare-free technologies, or better recycling. Status quo. China maintains its monopoly, but avoids conflict. Total decoupling. The tech war expands into a full-scale economic Cold War. Which path we take depends on the policies we make now, not tomorrow. US and global policy recommendation. So what should be done? Here are 5 steps for governments and industries. Invest in domestic remining and refining. Create strategic stockpiles like oil reserves. Fund material science research for substitutes. Build international alliances around critical minerals. Enforce sustainable, ethical mining standards. The US and its allies must treat rare earths like oil in the 20th century, a foundation for power, prosperity, and peace. Conclusion. Rare earth elements aren't rare in nature, but they're rare in control. And right now, one country holds the key. As we move into an era defined by AI, clean energy, and smart warfare, China's grip on RareEarths will shape everything from the gadgets we use to the wars we fight. The time to act isn't next year. It's now. Because whoever controls rare earths might just control the future. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others interested in geopolitics and tech strategy. Leave a comment below. Do you think the US can break China's monopoly? Download our free infographic, 5 strategic moves for rare earth resilience, in the description. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious.